Peter Grantham, George Newton, George Sanis, Gerald McGavin, Ray Carlton, Peter Clark, Neil Henderson, Bill Claridge, George Puel, Greg Bjarnason, Ted Hunt, Jack Whitty, Buzz Moore, Tom Christie, Norm Blake. These 15 players provided one of the greatest moments in BC sporting history and a historic victory for rugby in our province. The March 1958 tour by the Australian Wallabies was a remarkable one for BC Rugby, as it was the first time that British Columbia had defeated a national team from another country. The Wallabies, on their way back to Australia after touring the United Kingdom, played 3 games in BC, 2 against the BC representatives and 1 against UBC. The momentous victory over the powerful Wallabies occurred on the evening of March 15, 1958, in a thriller under the lights in front of a crowd of 6,600 at Empire Stadium in Vancouver. Coached by Ken Banks and captained by Buzz Moore, the BC men built up an 8-0 lead in the first half on a try by the savvy veteran Ray Carlton, and converted by Neil Henderson. In the second half, it was a speedy winger, George Puel, who scored BC's second try. Another of Ted Hunt's legendary kicks provided the additional 3 points needed to defeat the Australian Wallabies by a score of 11-8.
And in that particular game, I think it was manifest how the backs, the forwards, our cover was all really, really done well. And it was a compliment to all 15 members out there, and of course the coaching staff, that we did respect and looked after each other and played to the utmost of our ability that particular day.
Well, one play in particular, even 51 years later, I recall it quite vividly. All week we've been training with Max Howell, who's a famous Australian Wallaby centre, one of their all-time greats. He was a professor at UBC at that time. He came down and worked on the extra man, be it a wing coming in or a loose forward coming into the backs. And so fairly late in the game, we were about 30 yards out, and there was a scrum. We got the ball, we went right, and I came in as the extra man and got hammered by the fullback and the wing forward and went crashing down, but I did get the pass away to Ray Carlton, who then had a clear run in for a try. And I didn't know whether we'd scored or not because I was underneath these 2 hulking fullbacks and forwards. And I looked over and I could see Max on the sideline jumping up and down with joy. And so I knew then at that moment we had scored, and it held up for our win, which is a lasting memory for me so many years later.
A team rich with experience, committed to defense, and with some of the nation's finest athletes of the day. BC Rugby is proud to induct into the Hall of Fame the 1958 BC men's team that beat the Australian Wallabies.